10 years earlier, Edmund Bridgerton advises Anthony to take his time as he aims his gun. Anthony fires but misses, worried that his siblings will mock him. He watches as Edmund hits his target with no issue. Walking back to Aubrey Hall, Edmund explains that confidence is key. Anthony missed the stag because he had already convinced himself that he couldn't hit it. Anthony thinks nothing can shake Edmund, but Edmund says Violet would disagree and stops to pick up flowers for her. Anthony picks some for Daphne, knowing she'll complain if they don't bring her anything. Edmund swats at a bee which stings him. Suddenly, he struggles to breathe. Anthony holds him and calls for help. A heavily pregnant Violet rushes out, holding Edmund as he takes his last breath. Violet cries and sends a stunned Anthony to take the other children back inside so they don't see Edmund dying. Back in the present day, Mary, Kate, Edwina, Lady Danbury and Newton ride in their carriage to Aubrey Hall to visit Anthony and his family. On the way, Edwina talks about wardrobe choices. Lady Danbury says the early invitation is a very good sign, suggesting Edwina might secure a proposal by the time everyone else arrives. Portia tells Penelope to stop pacing, as they have a lot to do before joining the Bridgertons, starting with the trip to the Modiste. Jack mentions he's heading to White's, and once he's gone, Portia comments that at least he's not courting a wife. She fears that she and her daughters will be cast onto the streets soon. Mrs. Wiley makes a joke about one of the Ton ladies, which Portia says doesn't help. Portia wants to find someone malleable to secure their home. When Prudence mentions moving into Philippa's room now that she's out, Portia realizes Prudence could be a good match for Jack and persuades her to seduce him. Daphne and baby Augie arrive at Aubrey Hall to the delight of their family. Determined to win their annual game of pool mall for the second year in a row, she plans strategically. Violet, Francesca and Hyacinth fawn over baby Augie. Francesca tries to call Eloise over, but Eloise isn't interested. Daphne hands Augie to Violet, who then hands him to Eloise. When Augie starts to cry, Colin soothes him. Daphne asks if Anthony is enjoying his break from searching for a wife, and he mentions he's invited Edwina and her family for a visit and voices his frustrations about Kate, needing his siblings' help to win her over. The Bridgertons greet Lady Danbury, Kate, Edwina and Mary as they arrive. Lady Danbury is excited to see Augie and holds him. Anthony notices Kate smiling and thinks his plan to win her over is working. He meets Newton, whom Kate describes as an excellent judge of character. Newton barks at Anthony, who assures Kate her opinion of him will change, as will Newton's. Daphne assumes Kate is Edwina until corrected. Kate introduces her to Edwina and Anthony welcomes her to Aubrey Hall. Violet asks Mrs. Wilson to show the guests to their rooms, and Eloise suggests preparing for battle, which Violet dismisses, noting Eloise's spirited nature in the country. Kate bonds with Eloise over this. Anthony reminds Violet there's something he needs now. Anthony holds a ring and assures Violet he's sure about Edwina as the perfect viscountess. Violet looks at Edmund's portrait and expresses her hope that Anthony is acting with a sound mind and wishing him certainty. In a flashback, Nelson asks Anthony if they should begin making arrangements for Edmund's casket. Amidst the children's cries, Nelson informs Anthony they need to have a casket made and asks if he wants the body moved out of the bedroom. Violet rejects Mrs. Wilson's help as she sobs. Nelson inquires if Anthony has the keys to Edmund's office and asks about moving Violet's belongings to another room, which confuses Anthony even though the room is now his. Back in the present, Daphne places a wicket strategically to get revenge on Colin for his placement in last year's game, explaining the game's strategic aspect of upsetting other players. Kate thinks she'll enjoy the game. Daphne tells them about how the other siblings play, describing Anthony as the most ruthless player, which Daphne confirms is accurate. Edwina is excited to play. Portia encourages Genevieve to lower Prudence's dress in a bus, but Genevieve refuses. Portia drags Prudence to another Modiste. Penelope tells Genevieve she liked her design and makes up a story about when Genevieve saw her out. Genevieve assures Penelope she won't say anything, agreeing that a lady's business is her own. A delivery boy brings fabric and Genevieve worries about her dwindling business due to nearby competition. Anthony, Benedict, Colin, Daphne and Eloise bicker about choosing their mallets first for Pall Mall. They decide to let their guests choose first. Edwina chooses, followed by Kate, who takes Anthony's preferred mallet. The siblings rush to grab their own, leaving Anthony with a chipped pastel mallet. The game starts and they play happily, teasing each other. Kate plays well while Anthony struggles, attributing his poor performance to being considerate to Edwina. Benedict tells Colin about applying to art school during the game. Mary and Violet watch from the sidelines. Violet praises Mary for raising such wonderful daughters and understand why Mary left England years ago with her husband. Aubrey Hall holds mixed memories for Violet. Lady Danbury approaches, hoping for some excitement in the game, and they watch Daphne play and agree their matchmaking last year was successful, hoping for a similar outcome this time. As the game continues, tensions rise. Kate has the chance to best Anthony and takes it, launching his ball into the woods. Edwina's ball goes into some bushes and she bows out of the game, telling Anthony to keep playing. Colin launches Kate's ball in the same direction as Anthony's, challenging them to fetch their balls unless they plan to admit defeat. They head into the woods to find their balls. In the woods, they find their balls in a bog and Kate tests Anthony's integrity, suggesting that he could just grab the ball and no one would know. But Anthony refuses to cheat. Kate woods into the muck and hits her ball out, followed by Anthony. Kate gets stuck and Anthony helps her out, both falling back into the mud. They laugh and pull themselves out. Anthony asks how to win her favour and Kate says she only wants her sister to be happy, hoping he understands as he has sisters to protect. Anthony proposes starting fresh to prove he can make Edwina happy. Kate agrees, then knocks Anthony's ball away again. Hearing Daphne celebrate her win, Anthony declares the game over and leaves the woods. Kate retrieves her ball and sees a memorial to Edmund. In another flashback, a thunderstorm crashes outside as Violet goes into labour. Anthony watches Daphne sing to Eloise. Dr. Walker tells Anthony to come into the room. Inside, Dr. Lewis tells Violet to get back in bed, but she knows something is wrong. Dr. Walker tells Anthony a decision must be made. Violet insists it's her choice, not Anthony's. Dr. Walker says it's Anthony's decision, and Violet protests, saying it's Edmund's decision as he loved her. Anthony tells the doctor to do whatever Violet chooses and leaves the room. Dr. Walker promises to do his best to save them both. Back in the present, Portia coaches Prudence on drawing Jack's attention. Jack arrives and sits with his paper. Penelope asks to return to the Modis, but Portia says no. Portia tries to force conversation between Prudence and Jack, who is awkward. Jack gets up, saying he's invited the Cowpers for dinner and asks Portia to make the arrangements. Anthony and Edwina talk awkwardly in a sitting room, observed by Violet and Lady Danbury. Their conversation improves and Anthony invites Edwina to discuss the book she's read. Edwina tells Kate about her wonderful conversation with Anthony, delighting in how interested he seemed. Edwina thinks a proposal is imminent. Daphne asks Anthony about his relationship with Edwina. Violet listens, hidden nearby. Anthony believes it's going well despite Edwina leaving the game early. Daphne admits she has no objection to Edwina if she truly makes him happy. Eloise notices Violet and Lady Danbury looking at each other, realising they've been eavesdropping. The Featheringtons dine with the Cowpers and Portia pushes Prudence to engage with Jack. Cressida asks Jack about his mines in America, but he deflects. Lady Cowper invites Jack to dine at their home, renowned for its trifle. Portia asks if Lady Cowper stole her cook from the Evans household. Lady Cowper inquires about Jack's marital status and Jack says that he's ready to settle down now. Penelope asks about Cressida's dress from the new Modis. Jack invites Cressida for a promenade, which she accepts. Colin offers Benedict a powder to help him open his mind. Benedict drinks it after dumping a whole bag of powder in his tea to Colin's horror. Kate enjoys tea outside. Eloise joins her, encouraging her not to be discouraged by the Pall Mall game. Kate worries she's upset Anthony, but Eloise assures her it's because they were near Edmund's grave, which Anthony avoids. Eloise asks if Kate's unmarried status is her choice, as her brothers say that being a spinster is awful, but Kate seems content. Kate admits an unmarried life isn't ideal, and Anthony visits his father's grave. In a flashback, Anthony finds Violet, who is struggling since Edmund's death. He invites her to join the family for dinner. She has been thinking about how baby Hyacinth won't know her father's laugh. She regrets that she didn't die giving birth to Hyacinth so that she could have been with Edmund. She warns Anthony not to ask her about family dinner as she is doing her best. Back in the present, Violet has gone to visit her husband's grave and finds Anthony there. He was about to leave, but she insists that he stay. She replaces the flowers with fresh lilacs, which were Edmund's favourite. She tells Anthony that his dedication to family shouldn't replace love. He deserves a great love. Anthony tells her that there is no place in his marriage for love. He wishes instead to have an amiable reunion that lacks heartbreak and grief. He doesn't want to cause pain and that he remembers what Violet went through. The drugs Benedict had taken begin to take their effect at dinner, which has him speaking nonsense. Edwina is enjoying her stay at Aubrey Hall and comments on how peaceful it is. Anthony does not find it peaceful with all his siblings, although Edwina and Kate got into their own disagreements, they can't compare. Kate has always looked out for her and shouldered a lot of the family's burden. Daphne comments that Anthony was the same. Anthony isn't paying any attention as he is too busy watching Kate. Anthony makes a toast thanks to Lady Danbury, Mary, Kate and Edwina for coming. He has a question to ask Edwina and pauses when he meets Kate's eyes. He tells Edwina not to tell anyone that he lost at Pall Mall. He then toasts for the days ahead. Kate is massaging oil into Edwina's hair and scalp. She is disappointed that there is no proposal and thinks she has done something wrong. She is blaming herself for not learning more about the family or getting closer to Anthony. Kate consoles her and reminds her that she has choices as the Siemens diamonds all will be well. Colin is surprised to see that Benedict is still awake. He is still high and has been painting with his fingers. He's handed a letter by Eloise. He opens it and finds he has been admitted to art school. Eloise knows that Benedict will now be as insufferable about his art as Colin is about his travels to Greece. Colin asks Eloise if she ever hears from Marina, which she has. She tells Colin that she doesn't live far away. In the latest Whistledown, she is disparaging the new modiste and goes on to praise Genevieve. She makes a mention of Cressida's dress. Just as Genevieve has finished reading Lady Whistledown, Penelope enters her shop. Without verbalizing it, she makes it known that she knows that Penelope is Lady Whistledown. She says she won't tell anyone, and Penelope tells her that she is actually there for help. She helped Genevieve with her business and would like Genevieve to return the favor as she is at risk at being seen again. Kate is out riding alone. She returns and finds Anthony outside and approaches him. She tells him Edwina is not feeling well and is in her room. Anthony didn't mean to upset her last night and tells her that he still has plans to propose. He didn't think last night was the right time and blames it on his siblings' behaviour, which Kate thinks is just an excuse. A bee flies nearby and Anthony begins to panic when it lands on Kate. She is stung when she tries to swipe it away and Anthony's panic worsens, which confuses Kate. She assures him that she is okay and puts his hand on her chest. He begins to calm down and starts to lean in closer to her. They are interrupted when a horse starts to whinny. He pulls back and they run away in opposite directions. That's it for the Bridgerton recap. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe and stay tuned for the next recap.